the Pioneers here to take on the Mountaineers tonight. Second meeting between these two teams in dual action all time. West Virginia leads the series 1-0. You have to go back to 1975 to find that matchup. It was in Glenville. West Virginia won 28-6. And that was the year Glenville State dropped wrestling. They didn't pick it back up until last year. Looking at our first matchup, it's Colton Drouisias out of Cedar Lake, Indiana, taking on Kevin Meloni, a Buffalo transfer. And we're underway at the WVU Coliseum. Drucius getting the start in place of Killian Cardinell, an All-American from last year, who's still recovering from some health issues.
You know, and he's got an opportunity to start off strong. I know Coach Flynn has not been happy with the way they've been wrestling. That was a nice arm drag to a takedown and right in on top, throwing the legs in and trying for a turn. So at least in the first 30 seconds of the match, that's the intensity that Coach Flynn has wanted to see from his guys.
Intensity, a word he talked about a lot when we talked to him this week, or mentioned that word a lot. Competing well, the idea of competing well. Not about wins and losses tonight so much as how do these guys compete, how do they look?
Well, he definitely wants the wins, right?
Sure.
Everybody does, but he wants to see some...
Anybody who says they don't, you know, they're
that's right.
fibbing.
They're lying. Yes, exactly right. They always want to have that. But I think that's part of the thing. In their last outing at Ohio University, he was not happy with particularly the intensity. There's a lot of things that go into that. It's not like, hey, we're not in good shape or any of that kind of stuff. But a lot of that has to do with how well you're prepared, especially weight-wise, and getting into those 1 hour weigh-ins, and are you prepared to go out on the mat? Have you done everything right in the days and weeks leading up to it? And I'm not sure he feels like his guys have been doing that very well, and hopefully today is a different move in a different direction.
And Flynn called that Ohio match on Sunday a 30-9 loss in dual action. He called that one of the most embarrassing of his career. He was embarrassed, worst dual experience of his entire career. Well, Drucius is dictating the tone early, and he gets two more right there.
Well, Meloni with a nice shot on him, but Drucius does a nice job of just the counter, turns the corner, gets a takedown. Kind of textbook, pretty good start. And he's been burying him on top pretty well.
And that's something that Dylan Cottrell said earlier when we talked to him, that some of his wrestlers, and this is a very young team, they've got to get used to the idea of maybe wrestling out of some different positions.
Well, that's the name of the sport, right? And especially when you're making the adjustment, we talk about this all the time, especially when you're making the adjustment from high school up into college. This spot right here, being on the bottom, is not something you get used to in high school a lot. The guys who are really good don't spend a lot of time on the bottom,
right.
And you're not used to competing against guys who can really push you from the top position. In college, man, in college they can make you work down there, and they're not just going to cut you free. They're going to beat you up down there, and if you can't get out, you're going to spend a lot of time getting beat on.
Drucius 3-5 this season in place of Killian Cardinell. Working that left arm. Closing seconds here, the first period. And Meloni, not one of those younger guys on this roster. He's a Buffalo transfer, as we said, a junior. The transfer portal has helped Dylan Cottrell and Glenville State get this program maybe a little bit more competitive, a little faster than you might otherwise see.
Well, the transfer portal has helped a lot of teams, right? I mean,
right.
Fills those gaps
in
that
a lot of
you
sports.
in a lot of sports, yeah. Right? Because you don't have to. It's not exactly like free agency, but it's kind of like free agency, right? You can fill some gaps and do that part of the thing and filling your team in by taking a look at who's out there.
First comes to an end as Drucius holds a 4-1 lead.
You know, and they're going to have some quality guys. So the guys who are going to transfer portal and down to Division II, a lot of them are Division I caliber guys,
right.
But they're having a tough time cracking the lineup wherever they are, and they want to wrestle, right? I mean, the sport's tough enough other than to not ever get out on the mat. So you want to wrestle, so you find a spot and where you can do that.
We'll see Hunter DeLong later at 174, Jordan Williams at 197 for Glenville State. These are guys that were in Tim Flynn's wrestling room just last year or even before that.
Well, you're exactly right, and he's got a couple other guys who are going to be doing that as well. So it's part of the process of life in 2021, right, and athletics in 2021. And whether you're going to call it good or bad, I don't know. It's just the way that it is, and you got to figure out how to manage it and how to take advantage of those situations as best you can. I think coaches are trying to figure out and learn how to do that.
Good scrap here for Drucius. He's really wearing down Meloni, it seems.
Well, he's done a nice job of, again, one of the things they wanted to look at was intensity, right? Let's be intense. Now, this is still the second period, so you've got a little bit of time to go on, but you want to have pressure, put pressure on the opponent, make sure that they're trying to defend you and kind of off balance most of the time. And so far in this match, that's been happening.
Is that a tough thing to manage over 3 periods, balancing out your energy and making sure you have enough in the tank to go 3 rounds?
Well, I don't care how much you have in a tank. By the time you get to the end, you're going to be really tired. And so the real issue is about learning how to function when you're tired. And some people do that better than others.
Isn't that the truth in all walks of life?
Yes.
Functioning when you're tired.
You're exactly right. Well, look, you see it in other sports too, right?
Yeah.
So when you the fourth quarter in a football game or down to the end of the basketball game, you got people who are tired. And the people, it's not that they're in much better shape necessarily. It's mentally they're better at functioning when they're not feeling great and being able to push themselves through that stuff.
Yeah, so it separates good from great, the ones who can go out there and do well when they don't feel their best.
And in this sport, there's no break in the 7 minutes, really. I mean, you got a couple seconds here and there, right? So the conditioning is definitely a factor, but you have to be able to function well when you're tired. There's no way around that.
Well over 3.5 minutes of riding time for Drucius in this bout, and he's about to finish the second period with a 7-1 advantage.
Well, 7-1 advantage in like 3 hours of riding time. So, you know, you put that point on the board with 3 minutes and 49 seconds of riding time. So you're up 8-1. You're up by 7. We're going to start neutral here in the third period. He's got to go. Look, this is the other thing. Team points, right? It doesn't really matter. You got to keep pushing and keep going. You got to look at a major decision and push toward a technical fall if you get the opportunity to.
We talk about that on election night. You know, I think we can declare this we can call this race.
Right.
And Drucius getting closer to that technical fall. 9-1. He's going to have the riding time point as well.
Well, Meloni's just not done a very good job of keeping the leg out, and he's getting crunched with that half. I'm going to tell you, that is not fun being down there on the bottom. But when you're on the top, man, there's no better feel than being in that position right there.
It doesn't look like that would be a fun position on the bottom. And on the top, yeah, this is probably what you dream about. If you're Kevin Meloni, what are you trying to accomplish over the next 115 other than survival?
Well, get your knee free and get your knee back up to your chest and block him out so you get back up to your base and see if you can find a way to score an escape to not have the major decision.
If you're West Virginia's Drucius, this is one of those times I think you can take advantage of to maybe learn how to take that decision and make it a major decision and finish off what you started.
Well, as part of that, the question is, okay, now we're down to 40. So he's not been able to turn him. We're going to get a warning for stalling on the bottom, and then there's a point on top. But is he going to let him up and take him down a little bit, try to score off of the takedown, see if he can get him to his back that way? Try to split the score even more. Yeah, Meloni's just got nothing left in the tank, right? And part of that is because of he's been getting crunched down on the bottom.
Meloni gets the escape, and then right away a takedown for Drucius. Going to show you that you can escape quickly, but I'm going to take you right back down.
Yeah, he had he's got no answer at the moment. Right now he's trying to survive the last 13 seconds of the match.
5.5 minutes of riding time for Colton Drouisias. Again, Killian Cardinal close to coming back to the lineup, but right now, Drucius performing well in the opportunity he's had. He picks up the major decision with a win over Kevin Meloni, the Buffalo transfer. So West Virginia gets on the board early on in the team competition with a win from Drucius, and Drucius goes to 4-5 individually this season. We'll take a break. When we come back, Michael Dolan makes his first career start for West Virginia at 1:33. Stay with us. You're watching Big 12 Now on ESPN+.